welcome back to the NoScore Review Show. I am your host, Nick Green, and today is the 2022 in Review show. I am joined by two guests. My first guest is the practical co-host of the NoScore Review Show now. He last appeared on... Oh God, what was the last thing we reviewed together?
Was it Babylon? Did we do a Babylon show?
Babylon. Might have been
Avatar,
actually. Yeah, The Way of Water. I think that's what it was. Yeah, we both gave that some high praise. And he's been on countless other shows. But yeah, Matt, welcome back to the review show. And thanks for joining me in the 2022 review.
Glad to be here for another year.
My other guest made their debut on the She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode. They have yet to make another appearance, but they're here now, which is all that matters.
So, Shay, all that matters.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah. So without further ado, this is going to be the 2022 in review show. We each have our favorite film of the year picked out. And we're basically just going to gush over that for however long we want. And then we'll do some honorable mentions of other films that we liked or maybe disliked if we want to shout those out, I guess. Because it was a fantastic year for movies, in my opinion. There were a lot of really good movies that came out. But we'll just kind of keep it focused on our favorites. Our all-time recommendations for 2022. So I think, Matt, I think you should go first.
I should go first?
Your favorite film of 2022.
Well, my favorite film of the year is one that myself and a lot of people had been looking forward to for a very long time. It was a very long time coming. A lot of people didn't like it as well. Quite polarizing for many. And that film is The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser.
The Whale.
I saw this at VIFF back in October, very early on, before, there's no trailer, anything about the movie out. All that people had seen was, that one photo of Brendan Fraser's face, right? So, nobody had any idea what he was going to look like in the film or what the overall vibe was going to be for, how it looks.
There was also that viral video too that went out a while back, middle of the year, I think. Was that for The Whale? It was the clip of Brendan Fraser getting the standing O.
Oh, right. Well, there was some hype coming because I think it premiered at Venice, I believe, was the festival, and I think Brendan Fraser got a 6-minute standing ovation.
Yeah,
and he was hugging people, and he had tears in his eyes. He was choking up. So that's pretty much the only kind of actual hype I had going into it. Right. And I like to go into movies with as little expectations as I can. A lot of times I will watch a trailer maybe once just to get the vibe of a movie. But my favorite time of year is getting to go to VIFF and seeing all of these amazing films that, there's no info out about them other than just who's in it and what it's roughly about. So you go in
as blind as possible.
As blind as possible, because you also don't have Rotten Tomatoes out putting scores out telling you about what the movie's like. It's just entirely you. You go in with the film. There were a lot of great ones in there this year. Triangle of Sadness was also there, among others. But for me, The Whale, it hit some really huge emotional highs for me. And for me, when I'm evaluating a film for my own enjoyment or how good I think it is, the biggest factor for me is this film able to bring out an emotion from me, be it positive or negative? If it can make me feel a strong emotion, then I think that is the film doing its job, and there are definitely a lot of things wrong with The Whale. Stuff that I don't like about it, stuff that a lot of people have problems with because it's based on a play. So it's a lot of dialogue. It's very tell, don't show in many respects, which kind of goes against my preferences for films anyway.
Totally. Yeah.
And I don't like Sadie Sink either. Personally,
Really?
I'm not a fan. I don't think she's got very much range, and I did not like her character and her delivery. I thought she was overacting a lot of stuff, and just playing a very flat character. And I don't know. I mean, I know Nick has seen it. Have you seen it, Shay?
No, I have not. I've been
No.
really wanting to, but no.
There's a lot of dark humor that Sadie Sink's character throws out during
Yeah.
the film, and
Yeah.
I think it's a very big litmus test for the audience, to see what they laugh at, because she says a lot of things that can be taken as a joke, but within the context of the film are really, really not funny
I don't
and
think
really
I laughed
mean.
at any of that part.
And there were
I was
people,
very uncomfortable in
yeah,
that
like
scene.
I saw it just at International Village last night as well.
Oh, okay.
Just went with some other people who had not seen the movie. And
Mhm.
in that time and the VIF screening, there were a lot of people cackling at things that should not have been joked at. So I think it's telling when you go to an audience and you see what people respond to in the film,
Yeah.
because it really is an empathy test. Like it's about you forming empathy towards a character that, in many ways, like in other kinds of media, super obese people, like they're pretty much just gawked at all the time and made like they're not treated like humans. Like you have like My 600-Pound Life and all this, where people just watch it and they're like, oh, look at that person, that's so gross.
Yeah.
But in
It,
this, Brendan
fat people, I
Fraser's,
think usually, sorry to cut you off,
no,
Matt,
no
but
problem, go ahead.
fat people are usually either like um, displayed as either like gross or like funny. Funny is kind of like
Yeah,
the good end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And even sometimes it's both. It's like it's funny that they're gross, right? So it's rarely
definitely.
ever that you ever get to actually empathize or sit with those types of characters in a serious manner.
Definitely. And especially in this case, it's really painting this person as like somebody who has had a great deal of trauma affect them and manifests its way in eating disorders. And it shows how this is like it's a disease, you know, and it's not
Hmm.
like they're just choosing to do this and they just decide to not take care of themselves. Like it's a real psychological problem, and it really shows what it's like for somebody to go through this. And they did a lot of research and talking to people who really struggled this way, and making sure that they treated the subject with respect and that they weren't trying to be exploitative. And
Hmm.
I think they did a really good job. And it also tackles things like homosexuality and religion and family issues as well. Like it covers so much ground with the themes that this film explores, and I think it does all of them in a very, very touching way. Can be heavy-handed, I guess, in sometimes, but personally, I don't think it's a message that needs to be dealt with much subtlety. In a lot of respects, like people that suffer like this have been victimized for a really long time and don't get the support that they need or the respect either. Um, and I think that just loops around to just Brendan Fraser in general, because this is a very like personal thing for him as well. And a
Totally.
lot of the context of the film comes from you knowing what he also had to go through and how he was cast aside by his industry and how he was victimized and abused as well. And he brings a lot of himself to the role. And I think he just knocks it out of the park. And I 100% believe that he deserves the Best Actor award for everything. Every show, Golden Globes, Oscars, everything, give it to him, because he really killed it, and I think the industry owes him an apology for how they treated him as well.
Yeah,
And
I
this is
agree.
a good time and a good
Definitely.
way for them to show that they are uh, you know, making amends to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
it's
they're
one thing.
recognizing his talent too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing too for the Golden Globes to nominate him, because they're the ones who blacklisted him in the first place after he spoke out about being abused by the head guy. So I
Mm-hmm.
know he's not going to attend the awards. He's said that publicly, but
Right.
I still think he deserves the win, and that'll make it all the more powerful for him not to accept his award if he does win as
Yeah.
well.
I also just really hope he gets that the Renaissance, as everyone's kind of coining it.
Yeah,
Like I really hope to see him in like a few more pictures coming down the pipeline. I
he
know
is. I
he
think
said,
he's going to be in Killers of the Flower Moon, the new Scorsese film. I
"Oh,
believe
is
he's
he?
attached to it. Yeah,
Okay, very cool."
I don't
And
know in what
he,
capacity, because it's a pretty stacked cast already, but
yeah,
I do see, like, if you go on Letterboxd, his name is in the credits for it.
very cool. And I mean, I don't know how much merit this has behind it currently, but I did also see a headline talking about how he is open to returning to the Mummy franchise if that ever somehow
Yeah,
gets a reboot. So
he said, like, if somebody gives him a script and it's good, he's in for it. He'll
yeah,
do it.
that would be great.
Damn.
Um, yeah, it was it was emotionally devastating uh, for my viewing. It was like I said, I was kind of uncomfortable with Sadie Sink's um, the humor. Uh, I think it's supposed to be humor.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with Sadie Sink. I thought she was great earlier in the year with this fourth season of Stranger Things. I will kind of agree, Matt, though, that like there are definitely some parallel lines you can draw between those two performances. They're kind of like from a broken home, very abrasive personality,
Mm.
right?
I mean, it's
Um,
basically the same character. She
yeah,
gives the
yeah,
same performance, just a little more aggressive in The Whale and a little meaner.
yeah. I also think it could be worth noting. She only starts to get into some semblance of range towards the end of the film, and then it ends. So we don't get a
Even
ton of
then,
time.
I don't know. I think she just overacted with everything too. She was just always making a lot of movements and doing things very, like, forcefully and quick, and everything was either like really mean or then crying, and it was
Mhm.
just all like all extremes every time she did anything. There was nothing
Yeah,
that was in the middle,
Do you think
which,
possibly that could have been the direction that she was given? I haven't seen the film, so I don't know the
I mean,
performances.
it could have been, but judging by the way that the character, like the way that her arc goes, the way that the story ends up, I don't think her performance was in line with the arc that her character has. Like, it didn't show the arc through her performance as much as it's just being told what happens, or the events of what happened on screen. Um,
hmm
it could very well be direction. Aronofsky can be very hit or miss with me on his decisions, but just basing her performance against the other people that were in the film, hers definitely felt like she was in a different movie.
fair enough.
Fair enough.
And then just
Well,
like a
damn.
couple quick notes that I guess I have to just wrap it
Yeah,
up is,
totally.
I really liked the constrained cinematography and the bottling nature of the film, with mostly
hmm
being shot in one location,
Yeah,
because it really gives a feel of his life is now like relegated to this apartment, and he doesn't leave,
yeah,
and we don't get to leave either, and we only see things from his perspective.
yeah. We
I
get to
thought,
go outside of the building like three
yeah,
times, and
for a
barely. It's like
couple
on the
minutes in
patio.
total.
Yeah.
Um, the score was, I thought, very subtle at times, but also coming in for some great peaks when it needed to be. But a good chunk of the film was without any music as well, which just let the emotion of the scene sit with you and hit you as is, instead of being manipulated by like some sappy strings or something.
hmm
Um,
Mhm.
And I want to shout out Hong Chau's performance as well.
Yeah, I was going to do that if you weren't.
She was incredible. I'm definitely rooting for her in awards season as well.
Yeah, her monologue is kind of like
on the patio, that very one of the few outside moments that was a big like, oh shit moment for me when I watched it the first time.
Yeah, very good. I very much enjoyed this film. If you haven't checked it out and you are in the mental state that can handle an emotionally heavy movie, then I would absolutely recommend it.
Y'all have me so curious now, because like obviously it's been on my radar, but like that was hype that you just gave it. That was a lot
I
of
know.
hype.
I try not to hype things up as much, especially the stuff that I like, because then everybody always just watches it, and then it's like, that wasn't very good. You made it seem way better. But
yeah,
with
that's
this
what
one,
Jake did to me with the Triangle of Sadness a little bit.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh.
Oh, uh-oh. Well, yeah. I mean, I thought that one was good, but it definitely had a lot of stuff that I didn't vibe with at the same time.
It wasn't bad. It was pretty
just
good.
One more thing for The Whale. I also want to shout out the makeup and prosthetics that were made for the film. Like, phenomenal. Like, I hope they also take awards.
They better.
Like, home, because that was phenomenal. And that happened apparently during the pandemic, too. They had to send files of 3D printed molds and everything.
And apparently the suit actually weighed the real weight of what
he had to
it would have looked like.
It was like had to wear like a NASCAR racing suit for like the proper ventilation to keep him cool.
Yeah, it was like 500 pounds or something. That thing.
Yeah. Well, didn't that raise some controversy as well?
Maybe, but I think it was before the film was out, and people were just sort of like jumping on things. Because I don't know, it's the argument could be like, oh, why don't you get an actual person that that weighs this much to portray this person? But like, to ask somebody going through those health conditions at the stage that this character is at, it's like inhumane working conditions, and they would not be able to like work on a set like that. Aronofsky did an interview, I think, with Variety a while back, where he talks about like the casting process and the thought that was put into making the decisions that they did, and I pretty much stand by him with everything. And I don't think it's offensive. I think it's very much he's doing a lot of good in his representation here, and I don't have any complaints about that. But again, like, it's not my place to be offended or not, because I'm not the party. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it.
Very good film.
It's a ride.
It is a ride
for sure. It's not a popcorn movie. There was a lot of people snacking when I was watching that movie, and I was like, you guys should put down your large popcorn, maybe. But to each their own.
To each their own. Speaking of which, Shay, you're each of their own. Your pick for 2022.
What a segue.
Thanks.
Yeah. I don't even know how I'm gonna follow that whole like essay that you just gave, Matt. Like,
well, it's just because it's very fresh. I watched it last night, so it's very in my mind.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, for anyone who's listening, I already told Nick and Matt this, but I smoked a little weed beforehand, so I'm definitely not gonna reach that level of depth. But yeah, the film that came to mind for me was Bones and All. That one was definitely something that really stuck out for me this year. Unfortunately, for some reason this year, there wasn't a whole lot of films that really grabbed my interest. I've kind of found it to be kind of a slightly on the boring end kind of year, but then again, like, I haven't seen a lot of the most recent releases that I know is getting like a lot of buzz at the moment, so that might not be a fair statement to make. But yeah, Bones and All, I went to go see it at International Village like a month back, and yeah, I don't even know where to start with that one. Like, the cinematography in it is just absolutely stunning, and I know that's like, it always seems like such a simple statement to make, because like, if you read on my letterbox, everything is just like great cinematography, this looks beautiful. And but there was something
when
about
you come
this
from
one,
a camera background,
Yeah.
It's fair.
But
It's
yeah.
understandable.
Yeah,
Something
I
you
know. It
noticed,
just
right?
seems like a little predictable at this point, I guess.
You're just watching a bunch of gorgeous films, Shay.
Yeah,
That's
you
all
just have
being
good
evident.
taste, I guess.
Yeah, you just
I
have
just
good
have
taste.
good taste. I think most of my letterbox is like shitty story, great cinematography. um, but yeah, this one was shot, I believe, on like the Reflex 235 with like super speeds, and you could just the very first thing I did, like obviously just now, as soon as I watched it, I looked up the tech specs on IMDb because I'm like, I need to know exactly what they
Of
shot
course.
that on and how they got those colors, and just like the overall composition of all the frames, like where people were like placed in a frame. There was like rather very isolating photos or very like intense close-ups, and I just felt very immersed from like you guys have both seen it, right?
Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
the whole look they
Oh,
went
I love it.
for in this film really lent itself to the overall tone and the theme and the subject matter. Like it was a very grimy
Yeah,
and dirty
very much so.
feel to the film, which was
Mhm.
great.
Luca Guadagnino just has an eye for composition and for style, and everything that he makes, like Call Me by Your Name and Suspiria, just in the last few years, they're all
Mhm.
such like centrally charged films. Like they get you from every sense. Like you feel like you can smell the colors
Mhm.
in the frame
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
stuff. Like
for better or for
you
worse.
can feel it. Yeah, for better or for worse. But like, yeah, you can just really feel his images for sure. Something about it.
Well,
I don't
you
know exactly what it is.
there was actually something about it that actually maybe it's like the Midwest vibe or something, but
Yeah,
it was as immersive as like you've seen Brokeback Mountain recently. It has the same kind of look and feel at times, which
Yeah,
I know
I
are
can see
very two
that for
different
sure.
movies to compare. Um,
wait, there isn't
Well,
cannibalism in Brokeback
they're
Mountain.
they're both
uh,
romances. It's
no,
close enough.
I guess so. Yes. Um, yeah. What else do I have to say about this one? Um,
How did you
I
feel about
found
the
that
gore?
I was just gonna say the gore. I actually really appreciated how little they used it, but when they did, it was gruesome.
Very effective.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I thought it was very like tasteful at times, if that makes well, get it?
Yeah.
I don't get it. You're gonna have to explain it to me.
But yeah, even
Um,
for some like really graphic moments, I still empathized for, the ones committing the crime. So I
yeah,
feel like it's
I
really
didn't
hard to do
expect
something
it to
like
be
that.
as heartfelt as it was. I thought it was going to
Hmm.
be
Yeah.
way more like art house horror, dingy, grimy, dirty feel. Way more like not like full Rob Zombie, but like definitely leaning into that realm, like dipping your toe.
Yeah.
But it was way more of a love story and a adventure across Middle America.
And I think it
Which
was a really good love story too.
yeah,
Like I
totally.
Hmm.
really bought the romance in it. They
Yep.
sold me, and I think oftentimes in those kind of movies the romance aspect can be sort of tertiary compared to a lot of the other horror elements that would get thrown in, but
Yeah.
this really was a romance. That was the core, and the other
Yeah.
genres were the like subgenres of the film.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm. I definitely had moments where I kind of forgot between graphic moments that it was a movie about cannibalism. Like,
Yes.
Then they'll remind you. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah. And one other theme that I really, really liked about it, and I, mm, I wish I was a little bit more sober for this one, but like the intergenerational, the
Don't we
intergenerational like
all, Nick?
family trauma in it,
Mm,
like,
yeah. Oh, the
like,
scene with the mom. Holy.
Ooh, yeah.
yeah,
That was gnarly.
yeah. I don't know what I was expecting for mom there, but yeah, mom disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit at the end, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, the performances I think is what definitely sold this relationship. Like, I mean, Chalamet is you know what you get
He's
with him.
Chalamet.
Yeah. he's great.
He always turns up.
Taylor Russell
Chalamet.
really showed up and
Timothy
made Chalamet do the work. Yeah, it. I think because of its commitment to the love story aspect of it all, I don't consider it a horror movie at all. It's in my list of 2022 horror films. That's so low on the totem pole. It's I don't know, man. It's not really. I never felt any sort of emotion close to horror. So,
I mean,
yeah,
I guess you could argue that it's not a horror movie at all. What would classify horror exactly? It's just violence.
Yeah. I think it's just the disturbing aspect of it, of it pulls out a gross feeling out of the audience, whereas a thriller or an action film that has the violence of the same kind isn't trying to make you feel bad about the violence. Whereas in this case, it's very much a gross, ew, that's fucked up, oh my god, what am I looking at kind of thing.
Yeah.
The only time
the
when
horror
I felt
genre
a horror
is so wide that it's
Yeah.
hard to really
Totally
narrow
fair.
it down.
I think where I don't consider it horror, because I have seen films where they lean more into the disturbing aspect and not outright jump scares and stuff. I think they paired all of the intense cannibalistic moments with really powerful emotions, so it was a weird, they kind of Pavlov me into feeling more emotional about the state of the characters and their family drama or the drama between them while these horrific things were going on. So that's not something that immediately came to mind, I guess, for me. Where other horror films have they don't have as strong of those types of relationships usually, so it's way more of that emotion coming forward first. But that's not to take away from the film at all. I think that it kind of plays into the expectation of it all, especially with kind of how it was marketed. I think that's where I thought it was going, but it took me in a completely different direction, and I was okay, I'm here for it.
I do think the trailers sort of misrepresent what the film really is, just because of the way that they try to market it to a wider audience.
Totally, yeah.
So
I do think the trailer though was really good.
The trailer was good, but it sold me on a different movie. But I'm glad because I liked the movie that we got better than the movie that the trailer promised, personally.
Yeah. A part of me did wonder when I walked out of the theater that if I would have, obviously I enjoyed it. I brought it up in this episode, but if I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't see the trailer.
It is your best of the year.
It is your best. You've committed. You can't go back.
I guess so. No, I can't.
We have video footage. Yeah, I had a thing. What was my thing? For the people who maybe haven't seen it yet, I would still strongly recommend it. But now that it's out and having processed it a little more, definitely don't go in expecting straight up horror, straight up cannibalistic, disturbing violence. There is some of that sprinkled out throughout the film, but definitely go in expecting more of a
Brokeback Mountain vibe.
Yeah, a
it's
romance story.
It's a slow burn, character driven story that has some cannibalism in it.
Yeah, come for the cannibalism, stay for the romance.
Exactly.
The box art.
That should be the
quote.
That should have been there, right on their poster.
Yeah, that's the tagline.
There we go. Yeah, Bones and All, another great film from last year. And I guess that means it's my turn.
Well, there's only one person left.
Only one left. So my pick, I guess, if you want to get reductive, is kind of the easy pick of 2022, at least in my mind. It was like
Black Adam.
very wide.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Whatever the
Have a
latest
meme.
Kissing Booth movie is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
Is there
yeah,
a new
there
one
we
this
go.
year?
Yeah, probably. The Gray
knows?
Man. I think that came out last year.
Who knows?
No, it was Everything Everywhere All at Once. It blew people's minds. It blew my mind when it first came out. I don't think I watched a single trailer. I just heard about it through word of mouth. I heard it was a multiverse movie starring Michelle Yeoh, and I was sold on that premise alone. And it does not disappoint. It's so hard, Matt. We talked about this earlier with like setting expectations, and like I want to temper those expectations, but it just was like so far beyond what I could have even dreamt this film to be. It really, really takes advantage of being a multiverse movie, a movie about the multiverse. It goes places you do not even expect. But I think what really makes it like one of the best I saw last year was that it also had a really, really strong emotional backbone, and it had a really good story between a mother and daughter and a wife and husband. The relationships between those like three characters were phenomenally written and acted. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but yeah, that's kind of my overall for it. Do you guys want to jump in at all? You've both seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, just going back to the very first thing you said, essentially, was the trailer. I actually was pretty unimpressed by the first trailer, and I
Oh,
thought, like,
really?
looks okay. Whatever. Maybe I'll watch it, maybe not. And then it wasn't until the movie came out, and then a couple of my close friends were like, dude, you've got to see this movie. It's like, haven't seen anything like it. Best movie I've seen this year. And slowly, just everyone I know started saying the same thing. And I think this is really one of those cases where word of mouth really popped off about this movie, because it was just a medium budget indie flick from A24 that was in amongst all of the others that they release. And
Yeah.
something about it just really struck a chord with people. And after seeing it myself, I understand why, because there is really nothing else out there that is like it. It really, it's very postmodern and very, very new age style of editing, with like quick cuts and crazy transitions, and it felt very much like, you can almost say, like, it felt like it was a YouTube edit in many respects, but like the fully evolved form of a way that is stepping away from the traditional way of editing film, but still being a film in its own way. And like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that you can't make a kind of like a movie like that. But they did, and they proved that you can make movies this way. And I think it's going to be showing that more movies are going to be made that are giving this feel in the future. I can tell.
I hope so.
Yeah. I believe like a big part of that could also be like the fact that they use so much practical effects in it, that there's a level of it where it feels real rather than something that was just like heavily edited. Yeah.
I wonder if that was them like committing to the practical, but then being like, okay, we have this Tupperware full of things. How do we get the absolute most out of this? And then like even more. I think, Matt, you put it pretty well, that like it's not just the premise of the multiverse and the like high concept of it all, that is it's that concept pulled off like phenomenally well because they don't stick to that traditional way of making films. Like they expand their wheelhouse in service of this concept and this story, um, in a way that like doing a multiverse concept film but sticking to that traditional medium wouldn't have felt as elevated, I think. um so like bringing in those like weird like editing styles and like in camera filming techniques, uh and like just coming up with brand new ways to get different shots and sequences, uh like elevates this film outside of it just being a film. Um, and I completely agree. I hope we don't get things exactly like this. Although I would take like probably one more at least because it's crazy. But
Please
I
no
do hope
sequels. Please no
no
sequels.
No,
sequels. I don't want sequels. Um,
Everything everywhere all at once again.
all at twice.
All at the same
Um,
time.
uh, but I do hope we get more filmmakers experimenting and like thinking outside the box, um, because we get movies like that, like Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
I think one thing that also really helped it out was it was like released at the same time as Multiverse of Madness, which I think disappointed everybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
I in a year that was supposed to have Multiverse of Madness, um, it's like I don't love comparing them just because it's like it's weird to say that they're such different movies even though they're both multiverse
They
films.
are.
I think they're
Yeah.
also the most similar movies that there is to each other.
Yeah.
In many
I think they're
ways.
like a good comparison in the way that like you have your practical effects of something that was or like let's say somewhat lower budget. I say that very loosely.
Mhm.
And then something with the MCU, which is like mostly CGI and everything.
Yeah.
I think like that's something that
And
yeah.
I think it's a great comparison of like if you want to commit fully to concept, then that is how you do it. Whereas
Hmm.
Doctor Strange is definitely way more okay. Multiverse is our playground, but we still have to kind of play by the
Yeah.
rules
They
and
had
weave our
one
way
foot out the
through.
door still the whole
Yeah,
time.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's really true.
And all
Yeah,
the
the
production hell behind that film doesn't help as well.
Yeah, whenever you
Um,
change
yeah.
directors halfway through, it's never a good sign.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I had a lot of
yeah,
logistical issues. Yeah, I was like rewritten so many times. So yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, the pizza balls and like the or the street lights have being different colors just wasn't as
Oh, you guys have to
quirky
pay
as
for
I
food?
wanted
Oh,
it to
you're
be.
weird.
Yeah, I was just like, this is not funny. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, you go on red and stop on green?
Whoa.
I know,
Um,
so fucking bad.
the
But
it's
yeah,
it just goes to show that like when the most interesting part of your film is like a 15-second montage of your characters like smashing through different multiverses and then it's over, it's like okay, well,
And a lot of the
that was
big
fun while it
bang
lasted.
moments were cameos as well,
Yeah,
which is just
that's also
relying on
true.
shock and star power rather than substance.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I guess that is in a way you can twist it. A thing that was going for this film is like there was zero expectations going in. So especially on like the first viewing, like having all of that wash over you, it's just like insane. Um,
Definitely.
but I mean, I think it also probably has a ton of rewatchability too, because like there's just so much going on in every frame. And like it's just beautiful to look at too. Like the um composition of like a lot of shots are
Oh, there's some
just
gorgeous
every
looking
frame of
frames.
Mm-hmm.
painting. Like, yeah, uh, it's gorgeously shot. It's so well executed, and then just the heart of the story also. Like I teared up at the end of the film. It
Mhm.
hits you right in the feeling place a couple times.
Definitely.
Yeah, the
So yeah,
mother-daughter relationship was, yeah, my Achilles heel, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
the mother-father relationship as well
Yeah,
was amazing.
yeah.
Like there you had the relationship triangle going from all three of them.
Hmm.
And even the grandpa as well. Like it wasn't just one pairing of characters that got the attention. It was the whole
No,
family. It was a very well developed dynamic between all of them.
even the tax lady too.
Yeah.
Like there was some semblance of an arc with her, and she becomes empathetic with Michelle Yeoh's
Oh my
character.
god.
It's like,
Yeah. God bless Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
oh,
Jamie
God
Lee
bless Jamie
Curtis,
Lee Curtis.
she did so good.
It's a
Yeah,
goddess.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Queen.
killed it.
Yeah, she did even
Slay.
some of her own stunts in that one. It's like,
Does
Yeah,
she
yeah, I heard about
seriously?
that.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that's great.
Not the
That's
one
great.
where she jumps from the like the second story stairwell
Oh man.
thing. Unfortunately, that was not her.
No. But she does do a partial one of that clip. She doesn't do the full, she doesn't commit to the full flight, but she like
Yes.
starts off the jump. And either way, Jamie Lee Curtis on a wire being thrown even a few
Yeah,
feet is quite impressive. Uh,
yeah, and it's
but
not like
yeah,
she's
she did
like in
not
her
jump down an
twenties,
entire
like
flight.
doing.
What are you trying to say,
That would be
Nick?
something
With
Tom
Jamie Lee
Cruise
Curtis?
would do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I know there's a ton of hype and praise around the film, but don't let that um, scare you off. Uh, it's even having said all of this, it's like I think it's still worth the watch regardless, because I think you'll be able to get something out of it, even if it doesn't
Mhm.
somehow doesn't meet your expectations going in. I think there's still a lot in there for you to enjoy.
It has something for everybody in that one for sure.
Something for everybody. Everything, everywhere, for everybody.
At the same time.
Cool. We did it.
All over the place.
So our honorable mentions will be next. Since we are kind of getting close to the hour mark, we'll
True.
just do some brief, like couple sentence, uh, like praise, I guess, of our honorable mentions.
Sounds good.
Matt, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll say my honorable mention is Skinamarink, which a lot of people have been buzzing about online. Love it or you hate it, kind of a thing. Uh,
Matt, what is Skinamarink?
Skinamarink is a lo-fi experimental horror film made on a very low budget that is essentially a visualization of a child's nightmare, shot on a digital camera but made to emulate film grain. They use the fake grain put in through the editing to simulate the hallucinogenic effects that your eyes see when you look into complete darkness and you like start to see things moving or something like a face that isn't there, and they manipulate that effect in you with this film. So there will be scenes where you're looking into an empty doorway and you're like, there's somebody there, they're looking
There's
at me.
something there.
And
Yeah.
there's an
I want to see it so
amazingly
bad.
there's such a tense scene where the camera follows the gaze of a little girl looking under the bed, and it is one of the most like nail biting things I've ever seen. And I was like, my whole body was tense for almost
I
the
was just gonna
entire
say, yeah.
time and like
Yeah.
holding my breath. And the jump scares are very few and far between, but every single one of them rocked the fuck out of me.
And they're not,
Oh.
I wouldn't say they're traditional really
No,
either.
definitely not.
They very much catch you off guard.
But
Um,
without saying too much and without making this review go on too long, this is at its core, it's an experimental film. This is not a traditional story. It's very slow. There's a lot of long static shots with nothing happening. Almost everything is looking at people's feet or at the ceiling. I don't think you ever see somebody's face, maybe one or two shots. A lot of the dialogue is mumbled and there are subtitles on the screen, and it will turn a lot of people off. A lot of people will hate it vehemently and detest it. But for people that are interested in like liminal stuff, like the back rooms and stuff like that, then this is for that audience. This is for a very specific niche of people,
film fanatics,
and the people who like it are going to love it, and the people that don't are going to hate it. And it just matters of where you fall into. But yeah, it is coming out. Playing at the Rio. It's getting a small theatrical release. It's going to be on Shudder later this year. If you get a chance to see it in theaters and support the filmmaker, do. But at the same time,
he's a Canadian boy.
He is Edmonton. Canadian. It was filmed in his childhood home in Edmonton, I think, for $15,000, and the crew was only, I think, 3 people. And I believe the DOP sadly passed away during post-production as well. So the film is dedicated in his honor. But personally, I think this is a film that is best watched at home, preferably by yourself, I would say. If you can put headphones on, amazing. If you can lay in bed with your laptop tucked up under the covers and just get like fully immersed in it, and just put your phone in the other room, turn all the lights off, and just be a part of this experience, I think it will be incredibly rewarding, and you'll be like, there's a before and after. If you want to
traumatize yourself, that is.
If you want to traumatize yourself and have nightmares for the rest of your life, maybe. Or if you've got like an old CRT tube TV somewhere in your house sitting around and you can find a way to hook up Shudder to it, that would be the ideal way to watch it, I think.
Oh, fuck.
But
I know what I'm
it's
doing
really
now.
There you go. If you have the means, then you need to do it. It's all about watching the film in the optimal setting.
I have one of those old TVs. So
yeah, I've got one sitting right there as well by my bed. So when this actually does come out to stream, I will surely be watching it, because I got this after I watched the screener that I was sent. But I will, if it comes out on Blu-ray, I'm buying it. It's going to go on my shelf. I'll spend whatever amount of money that I need to. I think this person did an amazing job. He deserves to be recognized, and I hope he makes his money back. And I can't wait to see what comes next. I really am excited. This is an interesting voice in horror, and a great Canadian filmmaker that will surely be releasing some great stuff in the next decade. So,
and of course, it was filmed in a little house in Alberta. It does sound kind of terrifying.
Yeah, very much
so.
So
That's like a filmmaker's going to get
in Alberta enough is terrifying.
Yeah, really though.
As Nick can attest.
I can attest.
Oh yeah, sorry, Nick.
You're bringing up repressed memories, Shay.
Trauma.
Yes, Skinamarink got in my top 5 for the film.
It's my number 2. Yeah, behind the whale.
Yeah. We said Everything Everywhere there was nothing like it. There's nothing like Skinamarink.
That is 100%
you love
true.
horror, you got to watch it. Shay, your honorable mention for 2022.
My honorable mention would be, I believe, Tar, which I'm not sure if either one of you have seen.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to build it up too much.
Phenomenal things.
Oh, it's okay. The rest of the world has already built it up tremendously. So.
Yeah. No, the way the entire film is shot, and I know you two would also appreciate it, is there's very, very long oneers in it, and just like the long and impressively long amount of dialogue there is within those oneers. It's just, the entire thing is like very immersive, and you can't really go wrong with 2.5 hours or however long it is of Cate Blanchett in like different suits. And honestly, the whole like,
what more can you want?
Yeah.
Honestly, though, it's all that us queer folk want.
And straight folk.
Straight folk, yes, of course.
All folk.
My apologies.
All folk, really.
All folk.
Like, Cate Blanchett transcends orientation.
That's true. That
Sorry,
is very
continue.
true. No, thank you for the correction. Yeah, no, the overall comment on it, it's just I don't want to give too much of it away, but I think it played with it a really important topic and just like, of like power dynamics um between, whether if it's a teacher, student, boss, employee, and, can we separate genius works and like separating art from the artist kind of debate.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
And like, can we have like genius people like still hold consequences to their actions, or I don't know.
I
It's
wonder
yeah.
if Kanye has seen this movie.
Yeah, no, definitely
Probably
not.
not, considering
Probably,
what
yeah.
has been released.
Probably not.
Yeah. It has been a couple months since I've seen it, so I am a bit rusty, and I did not do my homework before this. But yes, if you have not seen Tar, I would definitely make time for it. Make sure it's a time where you are not distracted by anything. I'm very happy that I saw it in theaters. It was kind of actually one of those films that were kind of great to kind of have like an audience to watch it with, because there was like a lot of
Mhm.
people who were
Oh,
laughing,
man, you're
and
putting the
for a
pressure
movie
on.
that
Now I gotta go see it in the theater.
if it's still out, I'm not sure if it is. But even for
It
a
might be.
film that's like about music, it's actually a fairly quiet movie. So there was like rather laughter, or there was like dead silence. And like, you wouldn't want to eat your popcorn because the person next to you would hear it, or the
I
person
love
2
that.
rows away from you. But it is a longer film. I don't remember how long the runtime was, but yeah, make sure that you have time to see it, you want to see it, you're not distracted by anything, and just like let yourself kind of get pulled into that world, because the way that Kate Blanchett's like approaches this whole film is you almost feel like you're watching a biopic. You're like, Lydia
Right.
Tarr is a real person. You can't
Well,
convince me that this
yeah,
person
so
doesn't
many people
exist.
thought that as well.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was like a shock
it's
for people to
impressive.
find out that it wasn't a real person.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the level of depth she went into. It's like she really did her character study super well.
Yeah.
Like
Talk
she
about
knew who
bringing a
she was
character to
playing.
life.
Yeah. Um
Do you
so
think
yeah,
she's going to take home the Oscar? A lot of people are calling for it.
Yeah, that's
I
what
could
I've been
see
hearing.
that. It does have an Oscar type feel to it. It is. There's a degree of pretentiousness to it.
Of
Pretension.
course.
So
That's
yeah,
what the
it
Oscars
could very
loves.
well. Yeah. That's essentially what they are at this point. So yeah, I could see her going home with an award. She
I
would
mean, it
deserve
is
it.
about a world famous genius musician, so
I
it's
mean,
gonna
yeah,
be pretentious.
it has to. It's pretentious by design,
Exactly.
honestly.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
I also have heard there is a phenomenal musical number involving a an accordion, I think,
Oh, I
in her
haven't heard
apartment.
about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Oh, well, now I'm excited. Anything with
yeah,
accordions got my vote.
yeah. The
Count me
runtime,
in.
for those asking, 2 hours and 38 minutes. So it is
Oh,
on
it
the
is a
longer
long
side.
one. All right. I like long films personally. You know,
I have heard though with this one that it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it flies by. So
hmm.
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I might have to go try and see if there's any more showings left in our local market.
I
Nick,
think
what is
probably
your
Fifth
honorable
Avenue might still
mention?
be. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
time for
Mhm.
you now.
Time for me. We've dealt with nightmare horror. We've dealt with pretentious, world famous artists, and now we're going to talk about a shell that wears shoes. My pick
That
for honorable
Wait,
diversity is
mention is
great.
I'm gonna
also a
guess.
shell with shoes on. No,
Oh, I
you
was
don't
gonna
get
say
to guess.
Pinocchio, but fine.
Close. It's Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, this was my number 2 of the year. It like surprised me beyond belief. I did not expect to go into an emotional breakdown when I went to see a movie about a shell wearing shoes. It was it was so earnest. If you've seen either of the Paddington movies or like some of Wes Anderson's films, um, They evoke that same feeling. It's like it never feels like gimmicky or like it's trying too hard. It just is what it is, and I bought into it wholeheartedly. I loved Marcel the whole time. I'm also a sucker for stop motion animation, so this was really cool to see them blending stop motion and live action together. It's very, very well done. Um, and then, yeah, it's uh, like super emotional. It deals with like adult subject matter that you wouldn't expect. Like, it tackles like Alzheimer's and like dealing with your like grandparents and family drama. It's not like a kids film. It deals with like actual serious topics, and it does it well too. Um, but yeah, it's like a great like rainy day film. It's feel good, but it also has like some pretty heavy handed scenes. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about it. It's phenomenal.
Do you think Marcel or Pinocchio is going to take home the award for animated film?
Well,
I mean, they're both stop
personally,
motion, so
they
it's
are technically both stop motion. I think it's I think my personal preference gets in the way a little too much because I think I would just give it to Pinocchio just because I don't immediately think of like Marcel when I consider the like an award for animation. But I mean, there is something to be said for how well it is pulled off for the blending of the mediums.
right.
So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it took it, but I would like immediately go to Pinocchio personally. Um, have I have either of you seen Marcel?
I have not.
Okay.
I unfortunately have not, although I've only heard amazing things. My partner, who's kind of like a moviegoer by association with me, actually went by herself to the Rio. She was like, I need to go see
Wow.
this film. Yeah. I'm
Cool.
making it sound like she's 6 years old and just crossed the street.
Yeah,
But yeah, for somebody what I'm trying to say is who like make sure we always see it together. She was just like, no, I'm seeing this with or without you, and I'm gonna go. And she came back and she was in tears and she was talking about it for
Wow.
days. So I
good
know
for
I have
her.
to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you have to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a strong recommendation. I also didn't realize Marcel the Shell was like a web series before this
Mm-hmm.
film had come out.
Yeah,
I
me
had heard
neither.
nothing about it. It's directed by the same guy who made that web series, um, and like Jenny Slate, who voices Marcel, comes back. It's all like returning casting crew who like originally worked on it. Um,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was a sleeper hit for sure for me. Um, yeah. Do you either of you want to shout out just by title alone? Anything else from 2022? I'll say Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Darn it. Yes, I'll say EO.
Nice. Okay.
Just
Nice.
the
The
letters
donkey
EO.
movie.
Movie about a donkey. Go see it. It's sad, but gorgeous.
Nice.
Really?
Oh yeah.
For me, just because I can't really think of anything right at the top of my head, but honestly, I know a lot of people didn't really care for it, but the Batman, it's kind of be a guilty pleasure for me, I think, in the long run.
I'm due for a rewatch for sure.
I rewatched it over the holiday break actually,
Mhm.
and I think my main takeaway is if you are a diehard Batman fan, you will love that film. If you're kind of a like casual Batman and DC Comics fan, it's a lot of movie. I think it could
Mhm.
have been shorter, but everything that's there is great.
Yeah. But it's also like in that way as well, not a traditional kind of superhero movie. It really is like
No,
it's a noir film for the
yeah,
majority of the runtime. It's a detective story that just has Batman as a protagonist. He's not doing like crazy ninja stunts with like obscene gadgetry and flying machines like in The Dark Knight Rises. It's very grounded and very comparable to a lot of other non-superhero movies. So it can be an easy gateway for people that aren't necessarily into the whole like Marvel universe kind of vibe.
It's a great refresher from all that for sure.
Yeah, especially after the year that Marvel had. By comparison, I think Batman alone, I can't think of any other superhero movies that I enjoyed more than the Batman this year.
Nope,
oh,
not
damn,
even close.
That might be true. Holy shit. Yeah, that might be true.
Not even close.
I enjoyed a DC film this year more than I did any of the Marvel films.
What is going on?
The only
but then DC also did Black Adam as well. So
Black Adam might have knocked it down a bit.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's get out of here.
Could have been
gayer. Yeah. Too much queer baiting with Catwoman.
So much fucking queer baiting.
Speaking of queer baiting, Shay, where can the people find you?
I love that.
Segue king today.
That was great. Yes, follow me on my Instagram, Shay Martin Media, or my letterbox, Shay Martin, which I believe is the only one. Yeah, Shay Martin.
I am going to throw you under the bus a little bit. According to your letterbox, your highest rated 2022 film is Nope at 4.5 stars. So,
oh, is it?
What's that about?
Uh-oh. Busted.
Nope came out. Yeah, there's no excuse for that one.
No comment.
Let's just strike it from the record. We'll re-record the segment and talk about Nope instead.
Nobody listened to me. I'm just full of bullshit.
And then do you have any non-film recommendations, like TV show, or video game, book, or album from either that came out last year or that you just encountered last year at all? It's fine if you don't.
Well, what comes straight to my head, A League of Their Own, the Amazon Prime TV show.
Oh,
that was
that came out last year. Oh my god, that feels like it came out a while ago.
Yeah, I think it came out during the summer.
Cool.
Yeah,
and that was good.
It was. I know some people who were indifferent, but for the vast majority of people in the queer community, it really home run.
Nice.
See what you did there,
Matt. Where can the people find you?
The people can find me on Letterboxd at Wisdom Nugget, or if you search my name, Matt Schmidt, you will also find me on there. And then my Instagram is linked in my profile, so you can find me there if you care.
If you want to creep him.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any recommendations?
A little bit of a blast from the past. I'm currently watching through Flight of the Conchords with my girlfriend right now, and man, it is just so good. What a timeless show. It was so ahead of its time in terms of like humor and politics as well, and just such a breath of fresh air compared to like so much of the comedy that is circulating on TV right now. And it's so like low budget and lo-fi, and there's so much like digital artifacting that I'm like on HBO, and I don't know if that's something just from the transfer or from like the crappy digital cameras that they just shot this on, where that comes from. But it's just like such a nice touch of it not being totally perfect and feeling kind of amateur at the same time. And the music as well is so funny and well done, and there's a lot of good homages to like David Bowie and other famous musicians that they sort of go off their style, and it's just such a fun time. If you're a fan of like Taika Waititi and a lot of the other, like Jermaine Clement is in it as well, and there's a bunch of other
kind of similar to What We Do in the Shadows feel, kind
of probably. I haven't seen the show, but it's
the movie, I mean
the movie. I suppose so. There's a lot of like deadpan sort of absurd stuff, and they break into like song and cut music videos like just into the episode that are just so like out there. It's very fourth wall breaking and self-aware. Cool. It's just such a good time. There's 2 seasons, super worth watching. I'd say one of the funniest
on
shows
Crave
ever.
and HBO, right?
Yeah.
HBO Max. Cool. Yeah, I got to check
What about
that out
you,
eventually.
Nick?
What about me?
What about
I'm
you?
not going to go the easy route and recommend a video game. I'm going to recommend an album that I listened to last year. It is called Under the Shade of Green by the Happy Fits. I discovered this band at the end of summer last year while I was on vacation. And dare I say it, I love every single song on every single album they have. And Under the Shade of Green came out in 2022, and it is a banger, as the kids say. If you're into like alt pop rock, definitely check it out. I had it on rotation ever since I started listening to them, and it affected my Spotify Wrapped greatly, but that's okay. So yeah, go check that out
I
if
have
you
it
want new listening.
I have it queued on my Spotify.
Yeah, wait. Remind me the name. I'll do the same thing. The Happy Fits.
The Happy Fits is the band. Yeah.
Saved.
I will listen to it on the way to work tomorrow.
Sweet. Cool. And yeah, you can find me right here wherever you're watching or listening to this episode of the NoScore Review Show. It comes out on my YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast listening services. If you're into video game Let's Play content, I've got my YouTube channel, NoScore Plays. And I'm also just all on the social medias everywhere at NoScore or at NoScore Reviews. Depends where you're at, but that's where you can find me. Shay, Matt, thank you so much again for joining me for the 2022 in review episode. And Jake Sturkenboom, RIP.
Yeah.
And
very much alive, but dead to us.
Yeah, he's dead to us.
Yeah.
You'll never see him on the show again.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you in 2023, where there will be more movies, video games, and TV shows for us to review. Thanks for watching and listening.
I think so too. Well, we're starting off strong. We got Last of Us this weekend coming up. So
yeah. Yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Good night.
Bye-bye.